In our consumer alert, a new survey is finding that a huge majority of American workers say that their wages are not keeping up with inflation and that it's getting harder for the American worker to keep up with the cost of living. So what can you do if your expenses are outpacing your salary? Well, Jen Sullivan spoke to the experts on how to adjust and survive as crushing inflation erodes people's paychecks.
Historic inflation, soaring borrowing costs, and stagnant wages. New evidence that American workers struggle to make ends meet.
I mean, how much more can people spend? I think that the rubber is about to hit the road there.
A new survey sponsored by Bank of America found that nearly 3 in 4 American workers surveyed said the cost of living is outpacing their salary and wages. The data also found that half of employees said that they have to take action to deal with the economic strain. And experts say adjusting your lifestyle is a key first step.
Do you really need a new car? Do you really need extra subscriptions? A recession is the opportunity to look between where we spend our money and what we value and bring them into alignment.
Among the group taking action, 21% are tapping into emergency savings to pay for bills, while 6% are dipping into their 401k and making a hardship withdrawal, and 20% are looking for a higher paying job. The data paints a dire picture of workers under significant financial pressure as crushing inflation erodes paychecks.
There's a lot of people who are just realizing that paycheck to paycheck life is more and more of kind of the default that a lot of us are experiencing because of the fact that prices continue to outpace our wages.
Latina money coach Janice Torres says that's pushing some to make major career moves.
I'm talking to a lot of people who are thinking about how to diversify their income, either through gig work or starting their own business or even multiple jobs.
She recommends turning your creative skills into a side hustle or turning your professional skills into a consulting business and sell directly to customers.
They can take the middleman out, which is corporate America, and just go straight to the consumer, offer their services at a higher price.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Meanwhile, the labor market is booming. The unemployment rate in September was 3.5%, the lowest level since 1969. Well, the ride-sharing giant Uber is now dipping their toes in a new kind of delivery. Over the weekend, Uber Eats announced that it will begin delivering marijuana, but only in the Toronto area. The company is teaming up with online marijuana marketplace Leafly and will use 3 local cannabis retailers. Now, people over the age of 19 can use the Uber Eats app to order from those retailers. The marijuana will be delivered by workers who have been certified under CanSell, the province's cannabis retail education program. Well, shelves are more full than they used to be, but many families with new babies in the U.S. are still having trouble finding baby formula. According to a market research firm, just 18% of powdered formula was out of stock the first week of October, compared to about 30% in July. Now, nearly a third of households with a baby younger than 1 said they had trouble finding formula over the course of 1 week in September, and more than 40% said they had only a week's supply or less on hand.